Okay, so as Jacob then embarks on this journey, he comes to a place called Luz. And some really, his journey is kind of bookended by these two really, really significant spiritual experiences that he has. The first one is here at Luz, and then the next one is going to be at the end of his journey at the Jabbok River, and we'll talk about those ones. Okay, so we read in Genesis 28 where Jacob is in Luz, and he says in verse 11, "And he lighted upon a certain place and tarried there all night, because the sun was set, and he took stones of that place and put them for his pillows and lay down in that place to sleep. And he dreamed and beheld a ladder set up on earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of God ascending and descending. And behold, the Lord stood above it," or it could be, "and beside him, and said, I am the Lord God of Abraham thy father, and the God of Isaac. The land wherein thou liest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed." Again, notice the Abrahamic covenant language here. "And thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and thou shalt spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And in thee and in thy seed shall all of the families of the earth be blessed. And behold, I am with thee, and will keep thee in all places whither thou goest, and will bring thee again to this land. For I will not leave thee until I have done that which I have spoken of thee." Now, something's happening here, and it's pretty amazing. The prophet Joseph talks about the mysteries of godliness happening here. We also have President Marion G. Romney, and he talks about this experience as being a temple experience. And that really kind of fits in, because what we see in temples is this ladder. It means this ascent of greater levels of holiness until we enter into the presence of God. And so there may well be a temple element of this. But what seems to be happening is that this is where God is officially inviting Jacob to be a part of this covenant that his grandfather had made with him. All right? And so notice the elements that we've got. We've got posterity, we've got land, we've got this promise that God will be with him and look after him. Now it's clear, I think, that Jacob understood this as a kind of a temple experience, because he changes the name from Luz to Bethel, which in Hebrew means the house of God.
So just to orient on the map, you've got Jerusalem, that's right here, and then just north of Jerusalem, not far, is this place Bethel. And some of you will recognize Beth, meaning house of. So you get a few other Beths, like Bethany, Bethlehem. House of, and El is God. It's a temple text for him. It's the house of God. Right. He says this is sacred space.
Yes, yeah. And so I think it's really interesting that Jacob, we need to remember Jacob is at the beginning of not just his physical journey, but his spiritual journey. And so as God invites Jacob to be a part of this covenant, I think there's some evidence that he's thinking, okay, but I think that he has some questions. And I love those down in look at verses 20 through 22. "And Jacob vowed, saying, If God will be with me and will keep me this way I go, and will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, so that I come again to my father's house in peace, then shall the Lord be my God. And this stone which I have set up for a pillar shall be God's house, Bethel. And of all that thou shalt give me, I will surely give the tenth unto thee." So that verse 22 has this sense of, okay, I'm willing to make this vow, and you're promising some things, and I'm promising some things in return. But what I find interesting is verses 21 and 22, we have this if-then statement. And I always, when these come up in scriptures, I'm always looking for these. And so what I think Jacob here is saying, okay, God, you're promising me this, but can I trust you, right? So you've promised me some things. If you will be with me and will keep me in this way, will look after me in this journey, and will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, so that I come again to my father's house, then shall I choose thee to be my God. And I think that that's really, really important. And maybe we could put this on the board. Tyler, would you do those? What are these conditions, these things that Jacob is looking for to be able to get his own personal experience and trust in God and God's faithfulness? So number one, if you will be with me, and the ways of being with me are to keep me in the way that I go, look after me in this journey.
Keep me in
this way. Give me bread to eat. And clothes to wear. And then the last one is that you'll bring me home in peace. I think that's also going to be an important one.
If you look at that list for a minute from a temple context, from what God invites us to do when he brings us in, to endow us with power. It's a clothing ordinance, this power, and then you get the symbolism of the bread of life and sacrament and that covenantal nourishment and sustaining power that comes from God to keep us in the way. We would look at President Nelson referring to that as the covenant path. This is also that we can learn how to walk back into the presence of God. I mean, it's all here.
Right, absolutely.
It's beautiful
Yeah,
for a temple
absolutely.
context.